first time ever. He's been here before. He's joined us in our other studio, but first time at our new studios here at the Yahoo HQ. And he's got a pretty big weekend coming up, but he was kind enough to make the trip down to the area in which we're in. I don't want to give it away because I don't want any crazies coming by, but he is competing in the co-main event, a rematch of a fight that happened in May of 2021 in Houston, Texas, which was one of the best fights of the year. Watched it again last night, a frenetic fight, an insane fight. We're getting it again on Saturday. Co-main event, 5-round co-main event. Charles Oliveira against Iron Mike Chandler. Is he there? Yeah, there he is. Big Mike in the house. Hello, sir.
What's up? How are we?
Thank you for coming.
Of course.
First ever in studio.
I know, right?
Look at this. Man, you are rock solid. Holy shit.
Yeah. I've been in training camp.
Yeah, you look great.
Got a fight coming up.
Thank you so much. Here we are. It's great to have you. Everything okay? They treat you well?
Oh man, yeah, this is great.
A+?
The new setup, man.
First class.
Ariel.
We made
always
it, Mike.
landing on his feet.
Yes. Yes.
Always
leveling up.
And leveling up.
We're not even landing on our feet.
Exactly.
That almost implies that I've screwed up in the past. Is that what you're saying?
This is true. Hey, well, I've landed on my feet a few times.
Yes, you have. You have. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate it. You landed last night.
I did, yep.
I saw, what was that plane, 10X, all that
10X.
stuff? What is that?
So 10X Health Systems. So it has changed my life. Obviously, I've always done things differently than a lot of people. I put a ton of training in, but also focus a lot more on recovery. So the 10X superhuman protocol, especially, so red light therapy, PIMF mat, cold plunge, hypermax oxygen. You see that oxygen mask I wear? I've done that.
Here are you with some of the 10X guys, right?
Yeah, that's me and Ray Lewis there. That's Brandon Dawson, one of the owners.
Okay.
Yeah, we did some cool football stuff that day.
I saw it.
And I put Ray Lewis, the legend, through some MMA stuff. And yeah, I mean, obviously, training is one thing, but the recovery is just as important, if not more important, especially at my age. You know, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here at 38 years old, but here I am.
If you become UFC lightweight champion, you know you'll be the oldest lightweight champion.
I will, by what, 6 years?
Yeah, because let's say it's 39 by the time it happens. Sean Shirk, 33.
33.
So you knew this?
I did.
How did you know this, by the way? Did you look it up just to see?
I looked it up, and I believe it's going to happen. I mean, I do believe it's going to happen, and I think it's bigger than me. It's bigger than just an athlete in the sport. It's unlocking people's mind on what is possible with the human body with just a little bit of persistent consistency, doing things right. There is no secret. Everybody's like, what is the secret? There is no secret. It's just, I've been doing this since I was 14 years old, hand-to-hand combat. I poured myself into the sport of wrestling and did every single thing right. I haven't always won, but I always prepared like a champion. And the crazy thing too with my career is like, you know the guys that I have fought in the past in Bellator or even before that, guys that a lot of people don't know, but I prepared for those guys as if I was preparing for the number one guy in the world, whoever it was at the time, Benson Henderson, Anthony Pettis, Frankie Edgar, Khabib, whoever the number one guy in the world was. I always prepared like I was preparing for the number one guy in the world. And that's really all it is, man.
So much I want to ask you about because it's different when you get to talk to someone in person as opposed to
this is nice
via Zoom. Yeah, I can't even remember the last time we spoke in person.
Yeah, no.
I'm just, it's on the screen.
Not on the screen.
Man, I watched the, by the way, you and Bo Nickal, I saw you guys have a little sit down and we just had him on. What I loved about it was the Kill Cliff ATT thing, that you guys are bigger than that. You're two wrestlers.
Of course.
When did you first meet him? And do you agree with me? We were talking just before you came on. I think if I could buy stock in one non-ranked fighter right now, so no one in the top 10 or even top 15, I think it's him.
100%. 100%. And it's not even, this is a physical sport, right? It's punches, kicks, knees, elbows, it's wrestling. His wrestling accolades, all that stuff matters. But the person, you bet on the person. Just like in business, just like in an investment, you're betting on the people behind it, not the actual product itself, right? And Bo is, we talked a little bit on mic, and then we've talked behind the scenes, man. He's a solid dude. He's got his priorities in order. He knows why he fights, which is much more important than what he does. And he's obviously, he's taken a good road. This is another great opponent for him to showcase his skills at the world's most iconic arena.
Yeah.
So I would buy that stock as well.
And how did you meet him? Like, did you meet in wrestling circles back in the day? I mean, obviously you're a lot older than him.
Yeah.
And so was he I mean, you probably, do you watch wrestling?
Yeah. I don't watch wrestling as much as I should, man. It's
you know, like DC, like DC's texting me stuff. I'm like, I don't even know who these people are.
I know, Chael too.
Yeah, Chael the other one, yes.
And Ben Askren obviously still follows it a ton. I don't.
Why not?
It's not. I still love it. I'll probably go to more wrestling and follow wrestling more when I'm done fighting. I think right now I've just been focused on fighting, and I don't really watch a ton of fighting either. I mean, I watch the big pay-per-views and I watch the fights on the weekend sometimes, but I don't know. I think I'm just selfish and I'm just worried about myself and I'm just focused on what I'm doing, right? But the sport of wrestling is the reason why I am here today,
right.
You know? So obviously when I'm always rooting for the wrestler. If there's a wrestler in the octagon and he's fighting anybody around the world, I'm rooting for that guy no matter what, especially if they wrestled at the Division I level or they wrestled in college. And Bo was a special talent, and them daggum Nittany Lions are just about unbeatable. Yeah, so I forget how we met, but it was really interesting too because I think there was a little bit of back and forth where I was like, hey, I kind of was a little bit critical, if you will, of the way he was speaking about Hamzat or like, and that kind of got misconstrued. But it was more just we know he's a great talent, right? But the sport of mixed martial arts won't always reward that type of or be attracted to that type of call out and this and that. But he's done a phenomenal job with it. And he deserves to feel that confident because he is that good. So I can't wait to watch that star rise.
We had Stipe on earlier. He says he doesn't watch a thing. Like, even if it's UFC 300, he couldn't care less. You're not quite at that level.
Not quite,
but you're not spending every Saturday watching every card.
No.
Any particular reason? Is it just because that's work for you?
No, it's not the work thing. I mean, I think it's. Man, I don't know. I mean, I'm a busy guy.
Yeah.
You know. But I mean, I definitely watch all the big cards or the guys that I truly like, and it doesn't matter if it's a fight night or whatever. If I like the guys or gals that I just really respect in the sport and love their style, or I want to take something from their style or emulate some of their style, I'll watch it. I have gotten a lot more into watching fights this camp though, being down in Florida, and. Yeah, man, it's a beautiful sport. It keeps on growing.
Is it perhaps because it's maybe easier when you're away from your family, just because you have nothing to do maybe on a Saturday night?
I think that's part of it too. I mean, my wife loves to watch fights now. You know, when we got together, she didn't really know what the sport was, which I loved that about her. But now she likes to watch it. She likes to watch it when I'm not fighting. You know, like this week is much harder for her than it is for me.
She probably wants this to be done.
Oh, for sure.
She can't wait.
It's always funny. We actually we liken it to like the night we got engaged is like the night of a fight. So, because for me, I spent months planning it out. I had this whole thing planned out. I had cameras set up and I got the ring and the thing, and she said yes. And then it's like, okay, boom, I crash. I'm like, I'm dead, tired. And all she wants to do is sit there and look at the ring. And she stayed up all night looking at the ring and excited about being engaged. And I'm like, I'm dead tired. That's the same thing for her. Like, I get done with a fight, win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter. We accomplished something. But she carried the weight of the spouse, and all she wants to do is go back to the hotel, crash out. And I'm like, I ain't going to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, number one, I can't go to sleep. I've tried to go to sleep, and I'm going to lay in bed. I'm lay in this this hotel room, sometimes in the hospital.
Yeah.
But in the hotel room, I'm going to stare at the ceiling, so I might as well just stay up till 4 a.m.
Every time.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean,
it's just because it's too much adrenaline, especially if it's a great night for you.
Yeah.
It's hard to come down.
Especially if it's a great night.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny how we as human beings, we're like, man, I can't wait till this is over.
Yeah.
Because we put all the hard work in. And then you get done and you're like, okay, but what's next? Like immediately on Saturday night, I will get my hand raised and I'll go to that post-fight press conference and I'll be like, what is next?
Yeah.
We call in Hunter and be like, hey, what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's beautiful and I can't wait to do it again. It's been too long.
Do you think that will be something that you'll miss? Like, people talk about the drug and chasing that dragon, and it's hard to. I mean, we're seeing the other Iron Mike fighting on Friday, right? 58, and part of that has to be because like he just wants one more walk into the sun, and of course the 40 or so million that he's getting doesn't hurt as well. But do you think that will be something that will be hard to switch off because you've been competing in front of so many people for so long?
I don't think so. I'm definitely going to compete at something. It will not include cutting weight. I'll tell you that much. But I'll continue to compete in something. But no, I think I've been very good thus far in my life of accepting the fact that a chapter closes and it's time for a new chapter. I guess I'll have to sit here and we'll talk about it when I do retire eventually. But I always did say I was going to Barry Sanders this industry at some point and just walk away and be completely done. I thought that was going to be around 35, but here I am at 38, and I feel like I can fight till I'm 45.
Wow.
And that is not hyperbole. I truly feel that. But I know I'm not going to. Number one, I don't want to continue to do the training camps away from the family. Number two, I don't want to keep putting my family through that. Number three, it's more important to me to be dad and husband and be able to play catch in the backyard and front yard than it is for me to be fighting in an octagon. And I have a multitude of options, things that are already set up. I will walk away from the sport and be able to move into the next chapter and still be able to feel like I'm making an impact on the world. And I think I've set that up pretty well thus far. And I'm excited about that, but I'm even more excited to Saturday night.
Will your boys be there on Saturday?
They won't. Not this one. We thought about bringing Hap, obviously, because he's 7.
Yeah.
Ace is only 2, but just didn't feel right this time. Partly for Bree, I mean, my wife, she deserves to be wife this weekend with all that she has to go through, because it's a tough place to be at because I love them so much and I want them to be there. However, she's got to deal with this her own way and deserves to take care of Bree and then take care of me after the fight. So it'll just be her. She gets here on Thursday, I believe.
The 7-year-old Hap definitely knows what you do for a living, right?
Oh, yeah.
I have an 8-year-old, so I know that they know at that age. Will you even it's probably too late for him to watch, right? Because it'll probably be like midnight or 11:30 when you fight.
Yeah,
how does he do it?
It's gonna be late, and he knows it's on Saturday night, so he'll probably try and want to stay up. So we'll see if he does. We might just be able to get him in bed, and then he'll watch the highlight of me winning.
Yes,
that's the plan. He's only seen my wins. I haven't shown him my losses.
Why should
thus far? Yeah.
At some point, though, there's a lesson to be learned from those, right?
Yes, I love it. I love my losses. I love my career. I love what I've done, what I haven't done, what I should have done. I love the failures. Because it's a blueprint for everybody. There is no just winning. Nobody just wins in life. So that's why I think people love the sport. And I've said it so many times. It doesn't matter if you're 1,001 favorite or 1,001 underdog. You're fighting in a cage with a specific rule set, and it's a beautiful metaphor for life. So what's really cool, especially since going to the UFC, man, with the amount of cameras I've had on me and this just beautiful masterpiece that we're painting and my kids, my sons, but they will be able to see how their dad operated. And I've always said what's more important to me is not what I tell them I am. Like, hey, look what I accomplished, look what I did. I want them to be around people. When you meet them and hang out with them, it's like, hey, this is who your dad was to me, and this is what he has done, and this is what he made me feel. And and it's a beautiful place. It's a tough life. It's painful. It's sad. There's setbacks, but there's so much beauty in it. And I think, I'm getting even more and more sentimental and romantic about it as I continue to age, but then also as the stock has continued to rise, the stakes continue to rise, the opportunities continue to rise, and here I am again on a huge one, #1 contender fight. I believe I beat Charles Oliveira, and I'm fighting next for the title in 25.
You say you love your losses. Can you say that when you're removed from the losses? Like if we would have talked May of 2021 in Houston, you can't necessarily say that on the night, right? You need some distance between the losses to truly love them or have that perspective.
Yeah, I think you need it, and I think that's just human nature. We feel it because it's so real and it's so cutting to us in the moment. And that was my, that was probably the most painful point in my career after a loss, because that was my one opportunity. I thought that was my one opportunity.
You didn't think you'd get another one?
You never know with the sport, man.
Right.
It's the what have you done for me lately business. It is you lose and all of a sudden, I'm the flavor of the week this week. People are excited to watch me fight. You lose, but what happens next? Right. Are you able to build yourself back? And then God forbid there's any injuries or falling off the wagon. And that was my one opportunity, I thought, to become finally this dream that I've had since I was 22 and I came into the sport, following Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley into the sport and saying, hey, someday I want to be the #1 guy in the world. And Charles Oliveira shattered that dream. And now it's just so serendipitous that now I get this opportunity against him again to right that wrong and get back in the win column against him, to then become the number one contender, to then fight a widely regarded one of the greatest lightweights of all time in who I think will be Islam. I think he beats Arman in January or whenever that is. So it's gonna be interesting.
I watched the first fight with you and Charles twice last night. It's such a great fight. And I wanted to ask you about specific things, but just curious, when was the last time? I mean, you don't need that. It's like 5 minutes and 17 seconds or something. When was the last
19,
time?
5 minutes and 19.
Sorry, yes. When's the last time you watched it?
I watched the first round about a week ago.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't watch the second round. Second round was
Sure.
me making this really silly mistake that I have since cleaned up, and I was too young, man. Even though I was old, I was too young. I was too new in the sport. I had 2.5 minutes of octagon experience, 2.5 minutes of UFC cage time. And man, not only have I just grown as a fighter, but obviously these last year and a half, it'll be 2 years that I've been out of the octagon, out of competition. So many things I've changed, and so many things I've worked on, and so many things I've turned into a completely different man.
So we can't show the footage, but I actually have like key moments that I wanted to ask what you were thinking in these moments, if you don't mind, because it really was like a roller coaster, the fight.
Yeah.
So we could show some of the photos up here. This is like the first 30 or so seconds. You get him in a guillotine, and you probably remember this because you watched this. Both Rogan and Cormier thought that you had it. They're like, this is it. He's got him very, very early on. And they hypothesized that you made the decision to let go because you thought, okay, maybe I don't have it. I don't want to burn myself out. Is that what happened there?
That is what happened there.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a surprise shot. I didn't expect it. I think I was coming forward, and it was a beautiful. It was either a beautifully timed shot, or it was just how mixed martial arts happen. He got in on a deep shot, but I felt it. I felt like that guillotine was going to be there, and yeah, I let it go because there's nothing worse than in the first round burning your arms out.
Yeah.
And then gave my back to the.
You regret letting it go, or do you think that was the right call?
No, I think it was the right call because I don't think it was in deep enough, or at least in that moment I didn't feel it. Obviously, I had to go with my instincts of what I was feeling in that moment, and then gave my back up. And
okay, so then next, it's crazy. Like, it is an insane fight. I don't need to tell you. You lived it. Next moment, he then gets your back.
Yep.
And everyone's, again, in the commentary are thinking like, oh no, this is Charles Oliveira, most submissions, all that stuff. Could you tell us what you're thinking in this moment? He's like an anaconda on you at this point, right?
Most submission wins in UFC history on my back right now, and it's his favorite position. Well, yeah, I mean, you can see right there, I got the 2-on-1, and I've been using that 2-on-1 since wrestling. There was a guy named Pat McNamara who was a coach of mine, who was an All-American, and we worked on this leg defense. When a guy throws a leg in, there was 2 or 3 different things that we would do. Get a 1-on-1, and I was almost always able to get that reversal. So it's an area that I like, even though it's a dangerous area, and most people would say don't ever give your back to Charles Oliveira. Right. Now, let's also be clear here. I didn't give my back to Charles Oliveira. He took my back.
Yes.
So I don't want to take anything away from him. But yeah, it was a scary spot for other people, but I felt comfortable.
To make it even scarier was you then slamming him, doing that, which
then I think that's when Joe was like, "That's a horrible idea.
The commentary,
why would you do that?"
What a photo this is as well. You willingly do this. Why do you do it? Because both Cormier and Rogan were like, "No." And look at the impact there. Yeah. Why do you make that call? Because I guess textbook would be, don't do that.
Yeah, I think so. But since he already had the back, he also had the figure 4. So me being on my knees and staying in the turtle position wasn't a great position. I would rather him have my back there to have the higher likelihood of me getting the reversal, which is what ended up happening.
Yes.
Even though, Joe and those guys were like, this is a horrible idea. Why would you ever do that? But that's why people love to watch me fight, because I do make ill-advised decisions, ill-advised choices in fights. Maybe sometimes test myself and be like, let's see if I can get out of this. Let's see what happens here. It's like, it's the heart of a man, right? Like I'm more of a ready, shoot, aim kind of guy. It's like I'm already shot my shot before I aimed at all. And then we recalibrate, we try to figure out. And
which you did.
Yeah.
You reversed it, which is an incredible sequence. We have that, I believe, as well. And then all of a sudden you're in his guard. I think we skipped it because this is when you rocked him. There you are. Now you're in his guard. How do you get, like, that's one of the greatest submission artists of all time. What do you have to do with your body in order to get out of that position and then land in his guard?
So that the most important part is that one-on-one. So I mean, if you have a man's arm and you're also not just holding it, we're not just hugging it, I'm pulling it, I'm pushing it away from him. I'm getting a position and I'm moving millimeter by millimeter and I can feel it. The sweat starts moving here at this point. It's 2.5, 3 minutes into the fight. So sweat becomes a factor. He does have those long legs, and I do have a thick core. So it was a tight, very, very tight around my waist or lower stomach. And yeah, I mean, I just explode out of it while also pushing the arm away. And I've done it thousands of times.
Incredible.
In training.
And then all the momentum goes your way, as we just saw. Now you start tagging him. And then there's the sequence on the ground where he's like literally on all fours moving his head. And you've said in the past, here you are, raining blows, that you believe that Dan Miragliotta was a fraction of a second away.
Yeah. And it's, so many people have told me that as well. And I guess I've never I've had my moments where I'm like, dang, dude, I was that close. But this is why we love the sport. You can't love, I like to say, like, you can't love the things that have gone your way that could have gone 50-50 or could have gone the other way, or maybe the ref steps in earlier than he should have. You can't love that and be proud of that and be happy about that while also not accepting the fact that it happens on the opposite end of the spectrum as well. I mean, that could have been Herb Dean, it could have been Big John McCarthy, it could have been 1,000 other referees, and maybe they do step in and I become the UFC champion. I fulfilled the dream of becoming the #1 guy in the world, but it's just not the way it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be this way.
How do you let that go? How do you not let that keep you up at night and fixate over that to the point where you get crazy?
It's a good question. It's called accountability. It's called accountability. You can sit there and you can stew and ruminate and be pissed off about things that have happened to you and stay in the present and stay right here, or you can just move forward. And I've just always been a guy who has moved forward. Of course, I have my moments. I was ticked off after the fight, probably looked back and watched it and thought, holy cow, he's head bobbing and landed a good one there. And you see Dan kind of come in and come out and come in. You're like, dude, he was that close to throwing his arm in there. And if he touches me at all, like, the fight's over. But I lost that night. And Charles won, and he deserved it. He beat me fair and square. A kid from the favelas who was one of the most unreliable guys in the sport, missing weight and losing fights he shouldn't have lost to, changes himself and becomes the champion. Like, that's the way it was supposed to be. And now I just believe November 16th, 2024 is my time.
There used to be this knock on him, and you referenced it in the build-up to that fight and even in the aftermath, that he was a quitter. And obviously I think he's proven that to be kind of
100%.
nonsense. Do you think there's any element of that left in him?
I do.
You do?
I do. I'm not calling him a quitter.
Okay.
But I do know I didn't put myself in a position to fight him for long enough, to put pressure on him for long enough, to instill second guessing and doubts into his mind and his spirit for long enough for that exit sign to be found. This time, I think we will.
There's a moment in between rounds where your head coach, longtime head coach, Henry Hooft, is telling you that he's broken. And then he also sort of whispers to you, I'm so happy for you. And when I was watching that in the aftermath now, yesterday, I'm like, does he already think this is fait accompli? Does he already think that it's over? Is that how you take it? Did you guys think that this was done, that he was seconds away from being finished?
I mean, me in competition, obviously I knew the momentum was on my side. I had just 10-8'd him in that round.
Yeah.
But once again, even at that point in time, you can watch the first round and everybody says, okay, hit pause. Everybody put your money on. Who you putting the money on? I'm going to get 99.9% of those bets. Yet I still lost. And that's why we love the sport. That's why I love the sport. Even as painful and as tragic as it is, it's beautiful. But yeah, I mean, 19 seconds later, I'm on the cage, getting punches rained on me and my dreams are shattered. But I look back. It's so great to just look back at that fight and think, man, I don't even know who that guy is compared to who I am today.
What's the big difference?
Just growth. I think we as human beings, we get so eager for growth. It's like, hey, I've put in my time, but it's not that people don't do the right things, is that people don't do the right things for long enough and they give up too soon, right? And the hard work eventually pays off. You just have to still be standing there when it does. And for me, It's been 24 years of hand-to-hand combat for me to get this opportunity at this moment. The past does not matter. This is a clean slate. I am 0-0. He is 0-0. And I'm the happiest, the healthiest, and the hardest to kill I ever have been. And I think part of it was the time off. I love this sport. I love what I have done in the UFC thus far, but it took a toll on me. Every single fight of the night, fight of the year, knockout of the year, debut of the year, tough dudes, do or die type of fights. A lot of it was self-inflicted wounds that I put on myself by my fight style. A lot of it is the pressure that I put on myself. And maybe it's because I know I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning. Maybe it's because of growth. Maybe it's because of the time off, and my cup is so full because I got to spend so much time with my wife and my sons, so much time pursuing who is Michael Chandler outside of the octagon. And I love who I am, what I've created, and what I've accomplished. And man, I'm just a happy fighter. A joyful fighter is a dangerous fighter, and I just feel so damn dangerous. And it's been growth. And if a bad thing happens to you, the Conor fight, they'll build up the time waiting, the fight falling through, squandering the bag, all the naysayers, everybody pointing fingers at me, laughing at me, and joking about me, and what an idiot. If a bad thing happens to you, but a good thing comes from it, was it really a bad thing? And that has been revealed to me so many times in my life. And on Saturday night, it comes to fruition.
What do you think? Because I don't know if many people, like you talk about turning these negatives into positives. I don't know if many people would have that perspective. And I wonder if there's a part of you that thinks like, I'm built for that type of thing. Like not all these people who comment on it, like they would have wilted a long time ago, or they'd still be waiting, whatever the case is. And so I'm wondering like what you think is the greatest lesson you learned from this experience, the waiting.
It's that you're not in control. I think as human beings, we're sitting here and we're like, hey, this is my life and I'm in control and I'm going to say what I'm going to do. And I want X, Y, and Z to happen, so it needs to happen. We're not in control. And as soon as you're able to give up control and realize that all you can do is keep the main thing, focus on what is most important to you, whatever that may be. What is important to you is different than what's important to me. But as long as you are doing what is important to you, we can take opinions from the nosebleeds and you can take opinions from the naysayers. But ultimately, we are supposed to be and called to be running our own race. And I had my moments, of course, but overall, they say patience is a virtue. Yet when you show extreme patience, you also get criticized for that. So at some point, you get criticized no matter what. And yeah, maybe a part of me wanted to sit out. Maybe a part of me needed to sit out. I tell the story of when I was in college. My head coach, a man that I love and adore, named Brian Smith, was my head coach. It's my 5th year. I go from walk-on, little kid from Missouri, nobody knew who I was, to a guy who's ranked top 5 in the country, wrestling against Jordan Burroughs and Mike Poeta and Jordan Lean and all these guys. And I put so much pressure on myself, had just been grinding nonstop, 24/7, 365 for 4.5 years at this point. And Coach Smith pulls me into the office because he could see how my performance, my energy, my joy, my gratitude, everything was just down in the dumps. He pulled me in and he said, Michael, for 72 hours, you're not allowed to come to the gym. You're not allowed to come to the wrestling room. You're not allowed to come to the weight room. I don't want to see you till Thursday. It was like Monday. And I'm like, well, wait a second, coach. This is what I do. I work. I train. You asked me to do 10, I'm going to do 20. You asked me to go for an hour, I'm going to go for 2 hours. He said, Michael, you're not allowed to come in till Thursday. And I came back and I was rejuvenated and I was full of life and I was full of zeal and I was full of joy. So Brian Smith took the sport away from me for 72 hours and I came back and became the best version of myself and become an All-American. It's just funny how 15 years later, the sport of mixed martial arts, Brian Smithed me. I didn't choose to sit out.
Right.
I didn't choose for Conor to pull out of the fight. I didn't choose for us to do the Ultimate Fighter in February and March and then promote the show, and then we were supposed to fight like later that year, September, October, and then it get pushed till the following June, and then he breaks a pinky toe. I didn't choose that. The sport chose that for me. The sport thrust that upon me with a bunch of outside circumstances. And yes, I was pissed off many, many times, and I had my moments, but ultimately it was the best thing that could have happened to me because the man who sits here today has never been more proud of what I do, more grateful for what I do, and more dangerous. You could throw me in the main event and I will beat John Jones and Stipe in my mind on on Saturday night. Probably not true, but you know, that's just the way I feel about it. So if a bad thing happens to you, but a good thing comes from it, was it really a bad thing? And it's just it's been beautiful, man. It really has.
You told me the last time we spoke that you have no animosity towards Conor. Like you don't hold any sort of, animosity, I guess is the word. And I'm just wondering, if the fight never happens, will that stance change?
No, not at all. Conor's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing. And there's 600 other people on the roster. He and she shall just be doing their own thing. And that is it. I think if anything, as we just covered the last 20 minutes or so, I think it was a great process for me. It was beneficial. So many great things came from it. Yeah, I think Chandler versus McGregor needs to happen at some point, and I do believe it will happen at some point. And we need, if he comes back, his road back to the UFC goes through one man. It goes through Nashville, Tennessee, and we have to finish Tough 31. So I'll take care of business on Saturday night and see what is next. But ultimately, too, it's about extreme accountability as well. I could have, at any given time, the first moment that Hunter called me and said, hey, we thought it was going to be, call it September, July, August, whatever it was going to be, the first moment he called me and said, hey, we're going to push it to this. It's not happening until at least here, or at least here, or at least here. Any one of those moments, I could have said, hey, Hunter, I'm done, man. I'm not waiting any longer. It's on me. I am in control of my own career. They didn't tell me to wait. They said, this is when it is going to happen. Do you want to wait? Do you not want to wait? I'll wait. So this is on Michael Chandler. This is a Michael Chandler decision that I made. And yes, there was a lot of outside circumstances, but the onus rests solely on my shoulders. So I can't be mad at Conor for pulling out a fight. Can't be mad at the UFC for not booking the fight early enough. And if people would just realize that happiness and joy and peace and contentment is on the other side of the feelings of power that you have over yourself whenever you take extreme accountability for yourself and your actions. Because one thing is for certain, we will get what we deserve, what we work for, what we don't work for, the corners that we cut, the things that we go above and beyond on, the discipline that we have, the choices that we make, we will get what we deserve. And that's just how I live my life.
Man, it's again, we talk about like how good you are at expressing your thoughts and feelings and being motivational and whatnot. Do you ever get down? What makes you down? What makes you sad? When do you have like the gray days? Do those ever happen to you?
I mean, I'm sure they do. Yeah. I mean, I'm human just like anybody else. And I think what I've gotten really good at is realizing I am human, because I think sometimes we look at ourselves and I know the work that I put in. And it is not hyperbole to say that I am the most disciplined man on the planet of mixed martial arts, for sure. It's not even close. That is where I am in my mind. So with that means things should always work out. And that means I should always have great days and great sparring sessions and great trainings and not feel sorry for myself, not skip out on something that I should have done. I mean, I'm a human being. I'm just so grateful for what I get to do. I'm not even supposed to be here, man. I'm not supposed to be here. I was told by so many people I should not have walked on Mizzou wrestling team. I was told by so many people to stay in Bellator and not go to the UFC. I was told by so many people to give up and pack it in and play small, and I'm not supposed to be where I'm at. And what I have amassed and what I've accomplished and what I've done is just, it's so head and shoulders above. I wish everybody could see the vision I had for myself when I was in Jefferson County, Missouri, High Ridge, of what I thought a win would be, a good life would be. And I am on a completely different planet.
What did it look like?
It was just barely getting by. It was doing something that I hated, that had a paycheck.
Like being a carpenter?
Being a carpenter.
That's what your father was, right?
Yeah, which I respect my dad so much.
Sure.
He works so freaking hard. He's going to be in my corner. Like one of the greatest things is my dad will be in my corner. Like I sent him a message the other day, and I just told him about his hands. Like my dad has these big ass freaking meat cleaver hands, and they're big and they are cracked and they're dirty, but they're his hands. And I always admired his hands because his hands told a story. And every time, like right now, I've got a couple cuts on my hands, and I feel like God just put them on my hands this camp to say, look what you have created. Look what you have done with your hands. And and they were him, and they told a story because every single day, without fail, he was up at 5 a.m. and he drank his coffee and he put his work boots on and he went and he worked. And he came back. And a lot of times he would work a second job and a third job to continue to put money in the bank account, to put food on the table for me and my two brothers. And he's going to be in my corner this fight, and I'm so happy for that. The only other time he's been in my corner in the UFC was the last fight with Charles.
Wow.
So I get to right that wrong. So yeah, I mean, when the vision I had was, become a tradesman because they have a good pension plan. I remember my dad putting those little stamps, those little stickers in his little book that did his little hours or whatever it was. And my mom, the school teacher, or be this or be that because of some pension plan or something down the line that you'll have some security. And I was raised to seek security. And it's just so crazy, serendipitous, and ironic that nothing about me exudes security whatsoever. You look at my fight style, you look at the way that I train, you look at how I run headfirst into everything, completely okay with whatever may be. There is no security in sight. And maybe that's the wounds from my past that says, hey, this is who I am and I hate security. I don't want security. Or maybe it's just the way God was just had me in the palm of his hand the entire time in order to turn me into the man that I am today. And now what I have done and what I have accomplished and what I get to do is just ridiculously, it's an out-of-body experience every single day. It's like I'm living a dream, a new lease on life. And obviously coming over to the UFC was the greatest decision I could have made, because now I look back, and if I would have died 60 years from now and got to the pearly gates, and I would have stayed in Bellator and would have done my thing there, God would say, hey, this is what would have happened. Look at all of this. This is all what would have happened if you would have had the courage to step out and make a faithful decision and bet on yourself again, just like you did when you were 18 years old and everybody told you not to bet on yourself and go to University of Missouri, and it turned out that you became an All-American and had all these accolades, and it turned you into the man that you are today. This is what would have happened if you would have bet on yourself and went to the UFC. So now I feel like I've got my second career, and we're still in the thick of it, and I think it's going to end with UFC gold.
I love that you have your dad in your corner. Just the second time, I was going to ask you, when was the last time? How does that conversation go when you call him up? And is it because you get the extra cornerman, or is he okay? So how does that conversation go when you tell him this?
Yeah, it's always. It was great. I mean, he's pumped up. He was so pumped up. I mean, my dad and my dad doesn't know anything about mixed martial arts. He's not there. He's not there to tell me where to duck and where to dive and where to dodge and where to throw punches and whatever. It's more just his presence, man. It's just, you really start to really gain an appreciation for what your parents did for you. Because they worked so hard, and my dad, they never complained. The funny thing is people, there's a lot of people out there who say Michael Chandler is the hardest worker in mixed martial arts. He's so disciplined and he's so this, and all I am is just a byproduct of the example that I had when I grew up. That's all I am. And yes, I've done some things differently than them, and I've done a lot of work on myself to become who I am, but it's all rooted in Jefferson County, Missouri, and Mike and Betty Chandler, and how they worked so hard. And then now this masterpiece that I'm painting for my sons, it's special, man. It's really, really cool. And fight week is an emotional time, apparently.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But this is where it sounds crazy and it sounds counterintuitive, but man, a happy fighter and a joyful fighter and a man who is convicted and tied to his why and why he does it, is a dangerous, dangerous man. And there is no way I lose on Saturday night. When
you're cutting weight fight week, you mentioned, and by the way, how much do you weigh right now? Do you mind if I ask?
I was 170.
Okay. The reason I bring this up is it not true, especially on like the Thursday night, you start to have like, I've heard from a lot of fighters, like not like, you don't come to terms with mortality, but you start to get deep, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sure you get very nostalgic. You think about the past, you think about your parents, you think about your upbringing. Do these emotions come to usually on fight week? Is this the time where like everything, it's almost like as you're depleting all the fat, so to speak, you don't have a lot of it, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. All that stuff, like what really makes up your DNA starts to boil out.
Yeah. I mean, the weight cut, because it's something, unless you've experienced it, that you can't explain it. And it really is. It's like your body is dying, but your spirit is thriving.
Yeah,
Your body is in pain, but your spirit is flying high. And you really have to lean into that. You have to lean into that source, like whatever your God is, whatever your thing that you look to. You have to lean into that, knowing that it's bigger than you. And then on fight night, I mean, I've had this experience a couple different times where I'm in the back and I'm listening to music and my eyes are welling up with tears and I'm crying back there, and I'm thinking about my wife and I'm thinking about my sons and I'm thinking about them when they're older. I'm thinking about just everything. And that is where I know I'm about to go do something special. If I don't feel that, then it doesn't feel as though I'm about to do something bigger than myself. And I don't know. Maybe I'm a big softie. Maybe I'm too emotional. I don't know. But I am uniquely myself, and I am who I am. And I will feel that on fight night because I'm already feeling it. I've felt it for the last couple of weeks. It's been crazy.
You probably don't love weight cutting at this point in your life because you've been doing it for so long. But
I was really looking forward to 170.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to 170. Just one fight at 170.
You could still get it at some point, but I'm wondering if you just kind of miss these emotions, these feelings, because it's been so long. It's been 2 years.
Yeah, because nothing in my life, profession-wise, business and in these other things that I'm doing, can bring this out of me. Because it's so tied to my family and my legacy and what I get to do. So yeah, it's been a while, but I think it's just been building up. And I also just think about all the different times in my career where there's been stakes so high. I do believe this is the highest stakes that I have ever had in my entire career. And every time the stakes are the highest, my human spirit wells up something spectacular, bigger than I've ever felt before. And then it comes out of nowhere and you just feel invincible. And that's where I feel I am right now as we speak. And it's been constantly brewing over the last, after the Conor fight got canceled, I felt sorry for myself for a second and then picked myself back up. And then we moved on to the next thing. And this feels different, man. It feels special.
By the way, why not come back at 170 if we're looking forward to it.
It's a good question. Well, I mean, Charles' name got thrown out there. The stakes are high. He's the highest ranked guy, not named Arman Sarukian or Islam, who are fighting next for the title, obviously. So I beat him on Saturday night. I become the highest ranked guy who is not currently fighting for the title. I will be cage side wherever that fight is, whenever that fight is. And then we figure out timing after that to figure out who I'm fighting for the title.
Was 5 rounds your idea, their idea? How did that come up?
I think we talked about it. I was completely fine with 5 rounds. I like 5 rounds. I like 5 rounds against Charles. I like 5 rounds. I like training for 5 rounds. I like the extra work. I like the stakes being higher. And it's this is one of the biggest fights of the entire year when it comes to the lightweight division for sure. Charles, who believes that he is going to be champion again. I believe I'm going to be champion again. Co-main event. #1 contender fight. Makes a lot of sense for it to be 5 rounds because one of us is going to fight 5 rounds next for sure. And I believe it's going to be me. So I was cool with 5 rounds and I wanted 5 rounds.
Going back to the fight, just wanted to ask you about one last moment. There's a moment at the end where you're obviously upset and you're looking through the cage. There's a photo of this. I think we have it. You know what I'm talking about?
Come on.
Okay, I don't know because you said you didn't watch. There
no,
it is.
But I mean, come on. Like, yeah, I remember. I'll never forget this moment.
Are you looking at someone? Or are you
looking at my wife.
There's
actually an even better picture because she's wearing this beautiful outfit. It's sparkly, goldish silver, and she looks like a freaking angel. And there was 20,000 people in the arena, and all I saw was her. And I remember just apologizing to her in that moment. For reasons that she did not know. I was going through something that she did not know about because I needed to protect her. from it because we were away from each other. And she knew, it's just funny. She knew it was a different, I'm sorry. Because I knew I let myself down. I let her down. And sometimes in life, you have to go through these battles. You have to go through these things that are so painful to become the man that you need to become, to be galvanized by the most ridiculously painful fires that you would never wish upon your worst enemy. And yeah, that was the last fight, and that was the last 30 seconds I was in the octagon. So now we get to right that wrong and get back in the win column on Saturday night.
Could I ask what you're referring to? What you were apologizing about?
No.
Okay.
But someday it'll come out. But let's just say it was the worst camp of my life.
So you're actually saying I'm sorry in that moment, because the video is from the back, but then I saw the photo and I was like, oh wow, this is the different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're thinking about non-fighting stuff in that moment too.
I thought about non-fighting stuff every single day for that entire training camp.
Wow.
But this is not a feel sorry for me type of moment. This is just, that's why people love mixed martial arts. I mean, it's great, right? You can hurl insults at us, and you can make fun of us, and you can talk bad about us because you bet on us and you lost some money, and you can say all these things about us, but we're all just human beings. We are just trying to figure this thing out, and it just so happens that we fight in a cage in front of millions of people, but we're still going through things that people will never, ever understand, as does everybody. I'm not saying what I've gone through and went through was worse than what a lot of other people have to go through. But it was a chapter of my book that I'm writing at some point. And the next chapter is going to be beautiful.
Are you actually writing a book?
Well, not currently, actually.
Okay.
But
do you want to?
Oh, I want to for sure. Yeah. I mean, John Gordon's a good friend of mine who's written a bunch of books. I've talked to him about it. I've got my coach Brian Smith just wrote a book. I would love to write a book, and it's going to be, it'll be about me and what I've gone through. I mean, because what we go through as mixed martial artists and what we do, it's the most beautiful stories that can ever be portrayed to people, because there's so many similarities and crossovers between what people are going through in their lives, the fights that they're going through, and then what we're going through in our fights, plus what we're going through in our lives, plus what we're going through in our training, plus what we're going through as parents and fathers, husbands. And
it's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
What you guys go through.
Yeah, so that's why, but the tallest nail always gets hammered. The tallest nail is always the one that gets hammered first. And I think we're on a platform, and we're in a position where our hearts are on our sleeves. We are thrown into a cage in front of millions of people. The stakes are high. We are the man the man or the woman in the arena, and that's why people love this sport. That's why you love the sport. That's why everyone loves the sport. So I just look at it as a blessing. I had to get over it big time when I went from Bellator to the UFC, because I immediately became a household name, and then was an overnight success after 12 years of grinding in the sport. So I've gotten better at it, because pressure is a blessing. Ridicule is a blessing. The naysayers, they're a blessing. And it's helped me grow as a man.
Just a few more minutes. Do you mind, my team is in here, but do you mind closing the door there? I don't know how it opened. Thank you for that. Is this your guy right here?
That's Connor.
Connor, what's up?
That's
we have
Connor.
A Connor too.
Yeah.
What does Connor do for you?
Everything media.
Okay.
Everything media.
Is he the one doing all the Instagram stuff?
He is.
Shit, man.
Well, it's funny actually, because
upped it on the Instagram.
Yeah, we go hard, man.
Yeah.
Connor gets after it. He does a hell of a job. I've got some great people around me, and he is one of them. And I like to boss around a guy named Connor. No, I'm just joking. But that is, I always tell him that was one of the funniest Instagram comments I ever got. It's like, holy cow, Chandler's really taking this seriously. He hired a guy named Connor so he could boss him around.
Is great. It's like really, really, really high level stuff.
He does a good job. And we, obviously we're not here to just post pictures of ourselves looking jacked and say the best never rest. We're here to make people feel something. And that's our brand. That's our mission. We're trying to make people feel something with this journey of mixed martial arts that I'm going through, and he does a great job.
What happened last week? All of a sudden I'm getting hit up. Is the fight off? Is the fight off?
Oh, yeah.
The fight off? What was that all about?
I honestly do not know.
I reached out to your manager, Dave. He called me in a panic, and he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, I see Diego Lima, Charles's coach, and then I see Moicano saying to put me in.
What's really funny, I mean, I got a theory. Obviously, I went through almost 2 years of a year and a half of a layoff, 10 weeks of training for Conor, 13 days before the fight gets canceled. But, you know, so maybe there was some internal gamesmanship going on there. Hey, let's leak this thing that maybe the fight's off again. Let's get Chandler freaked out. But I have been so aloof to everything aside from going to the gym and training and writing in my journal every single day and watching film and being built up, that I didn't even call my manager at all. I didn't even send it to them. Didn't even say, hey, can we look into this? Should we call Hunter? Should we figure out what's going on? It did not affect me whatsoever.
What do you write about?
I write about myself a lot.
Like how to be better or what you're doing or?
Yeah. I have picked up that journal 5-6 times a day, every single day. I've got a UFC 303 Conor section that was about maybe a fifth of it, and then I've just finished my almost entire journal. I got about 15 pages left of just this training camp, and most of it is gratitude. Most of it is writing to myself, reminding myself what I have done. I mean, because sometimes I've got this idea of him, and you put quotation marks around it, him. Because I think, you know, I'm speaking as a man to men. We're working and we're visualizing and we're thinking and we're trying to become him. We're trying to become that guy, the best version of ourselves. Whatever that best version is for you is that him that we're chasing, the him that we're trying to be, the him that we want to be like, the him that when we finally get there, we can say, holy cow, I've done it. But at some point, there's just the constant striving, and you've already become him, but you haven't accepted the fact that you already are him. And I think I've been him for quite some time, but I didn't actually step into the shoes of him. And so putting stuff in my journal every single day, I mean, some of it is, hey, today, this is how things went. This is how sparring was. But most of it is, hey, Michael, just to remind you, this is who you are. This is what you stand for. This is how much you've worked. This is why you deserve to be successful. This is why you deserve to win on Saturday night. This is why you deserve to beat Charles Oliveira. This is why, and this is why. And I ran from that for so long because I never wanted to be the biggest guy in the room, because I never wanted people to feel insecure around me. I never wanted to come off cocky, never wanted to come off arrogant, because and I wrote this in my journal the other day, I have become somebody that the former me would have hated. I have become somebody that the former me would have disliked, because the former me would have walked into the room with the current me and said, I don't like that guy. He is too confident. He is too arrogant. He has too much self-belief. He has too much pride in himself. So I think I ran from that for so long. And I think there's millions of men out there right now feeling the exact same way. Because my biggest fear was always, I know I'm not better than you, so I want to make sure I don't come off better than you. Maybe I've earned it more than you. Maybe I work harder than you. Maybe I am more disciplined than you. But I never want people to feel like I feel as though I'm better than them. So with that, I think humility is one of the most beautiful aspects of the human condition, but it also can be a huge detriment to who you are supposed to become, because you fall into humility so deeply and you're so tied to humility that the cognitive dissonance of what is happening in real life and who you are in real life isn't what is lining up with your actual beliefs inside of your brain, and more importantly, inside of your soul. So I've just had to remind myself that I am him, and I do deserve this. And not only do I deserve to be good, but I deserve to be great, and not just to be great, but to be extraordinary, and to do something that is so ridiculously bigger than not just the former me could ever imagine, but so ridiculously different and bigger than people would have ever expected out of me, out of a mixed martial artist, out of a man. And I believe that comes to fruition on Saturday night.
So I've heard you say that, like, even in college, when you were getting better or had a big match, you would say, like, no, like, don't win this because then that proves that you are good, and you need to be like mediocre. You need to be middle of the pack. You need to be middle class, right? Yeah. And I've heard you say that for like 20 years you had this mentality where you would tell yourself like it's good to be okay, but don't be excellent. Don't be the man. Don't be him as you're referring to. And there's sort of like an imposter syndrome there, right? Because like you're like, oh no, this I can't be that guy. When does that switch happen in your life? When do you make that switch to be like, nah, fuck that. I am the guy, and I deserve all of this.
I honestly think it's been the last 2 years that
even like late Bellator, you're still thinking this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bellator was really, really tough because nobody will ever like me fighting Justin Gaethje, Poirier, freaking Hooker, and Ferguson, and Oliveira, and these guys. There's no pressure with that because I'm not supposed to beat those guys, right? I was supposed to beat everybody in Bellator. I was almost sick to my stomach with pressure in Bellator because I knew I was the guy. So you can't lose to the guy who's not the guy back then. So now I've got a newfound appreciation for the competition that I have in the UFC. But over the last 2 years, especially, and I think it was the time off. I think it was the sport being taken away from me. I think it was getting an inside look into, hey, this is what life looks like after this whole thing is over. So you better grab the bull by the horns and you better become him now, or else you're going to look back and hate yourself for not stepping into the shoes of him. But no, exactly what you said. I mean, yeah, I would do it in college because I think there's a certain amount of responsibility that people are afraid of when it comes to having massive amounts of success. We talk about it, we want to do it, and we listen to the self-help gurus, and we want to be the world champion. We want to be the best. We want to win. We want to be the millionaire. We want to be the celebrity. We want to be whatever it is. But the pressure that comes along with that and the pressure that you're going to put on yourself, it's a scary thing for a lot of people. And I think that's the biggest thing that holds people back. And I'm here to tell you that when you step into that, there's so much more freedom because if you fail while daring greatly. And yeah, it's going to be painful, but at least you did something and you tried something. Because only the mediocre can be expected to be at their best because they're not truly trying to get outside of their comfort zones. They're not truly trying to accomplish anything that's bigger than themselves. And what I've also realized is I'm not doing this for me either. I'm not doing this for, yeah, I get the money in my bank account and yeah, I get the followers and I get the platform, but it's the butterfly effect of the millions of people who see my blueprint for what I've done. And it's so much less about me and it's so much more about them. So when you start to reverse engineer that and say, it's not about me, therefore it's okay. If I win, I don't have to worry about me feeling a little bit insecure that I had too much success because it's not about me. All it is just a physical manifestation of what is able to be accomplished by other people. And once I really started realizing that, the sport changed for me and what success looks like changed for me. What having money and platform and fame or whatever all these materialistic things are, having those things are it's just a byproduct of the hard work that I've put in and the calling on my life.
Just a couple more. I think you broke the news that number 47, Mr. Trump, is going to be there on Saturday.
I hope so. I didn't break that news, but
okay.
I did say I watched an interview where he said, "Yeah, I'll probably go, but if I lose, I'll be so depressed I won't go." So he won, so I'm assuming he's going to come.
Well, I feel like between you, Bo Nickal, I know Stipe is a big supporter as well. I mean, I feel like a lot of his guys are going to be there.
Yeah, I sent the text out this morning, so we'll see.
Oh wow, you're like that, huh?
Well, not the DT himself, but
you don't text with him. That would
be cool if I lied to you right now and really.
Listen, you could have, and I would have believed you.
I would have believed. As long.
I don't even know how that is possible. Like, how do you even text the president when people say
exactly?
That?
Exactly.
I don't even know if there even is a phone that allows that sort of thing. So that is out of the way. MSG. Historically has been tough, right?
I am defeated at MSG, 0-3. I actually just ran into a dude who had been to all three of my fights at MSG.
Oh man!
And he's like, "Hey, dude, we got to break the MSG curse." But I also look at that as another layer where I'm like, "Of course, this is the way it was supposed to be."
That's what I was gonna. Yeah.
This is the way it was supposed to be. To fight the guy who already beat you and shattered your dreams. To also fight at the arena that has shattered your dreams. Now, every single time you have never won inside there. Now it's time to right that wrong.
So you're not superstitious at all?
No, not even a little bit.
Okay.
I asked for this card. I mean, we talked about October. I wanted to fight. I wanted to fight in October, but I needed to do a serious, legit weight cut. Like, hey, I've been preparing my mind and body for 170 for the last year and a half, and now I only have like 10 weeks in order to get down to 155 for October. It wasn't going to happen. It was just too soon. So I needed some extra time, and I wanted MSG, and we got MSG.
Okay. And I remember you remember when you rolled in?
Yeah,
I couldn't even actually. I actually have this. You rolled in on the chair because you couldn't walk after the premise fight. But that was the Monday. Here you are right here. Look at you, just rolling. And here comes Mike because he couldn't walk. But there's the guy.
Hey man,
crazy, right?
Yep.
That's how much pain you were in. You could not walk.
It wasn't really pain. It was more just the foot wasn't really working very well. But I mean, a week or two later, I was running. I remember I ran like 5 miles 2 weeks later, and I sent a message to Scott Coker. I said, book the rematch. Like, I got to right this wrong. But that was when the stool got pulled out from under me.
Yes. We don't need to talk about all of that.
It's all right. It's good, man. I love it.
This is all part of the story.
I love my losses more than my wins, I think.
That's so weird.
It is weird.
You versus Patricky Pitbull, that knockout, that's one of my favorite knockouts of all time.
That one was pretty sweet.
And like the Hooker fight, how could you like your losses more? The pain that it causes in that moment. I know the perspective afterwards, but man, you've had like, look at that. I mean, that was like a sniper.
Yeah, and I still got that. Probably even more now. So I mean, I've actually envisioned that a couple different times. I don't know if it's going to be a right hand, left hook, or what it's going to be, but Charles Oliveira is going to be separated from consciousness, I believe.
This is what you're feeling. This is what you're envisioning.
100%. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's going to be fun. So, but I'm not saying, I'd rather win. I'd like to win, but I think it's a little bit of a shock factor, but it's not why I do it, but we need to talk about our losses. If you don't talk about it's the reason why I will be on Bussin' with the Boys on Monday after this fight, win, lose, or draw. Those are my guys. Yeah. And it's a platform for me to get up there, black eyes, bloody nose, stitches, whatever, to talk about the win or the loss, because I do it for myself as well. Because I remember, I went through 688 days without winning a fight, 3 losses in a row. Career was on life support. And part of that was because I hid from everybody and I stayed away. If you would have called me, I would have said no to an interview. I didn't want to be in the public. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. So the best way is to get the message out to people that you have to relish in your losses, knowing that you need those losses in order to get the wins. So I will be on the bus on Monday to talk about the win, the loss, the draw, whatever happens, no matter what, because you got to get back on the horse and you got to keep moving forward.
Maybe you could come on this show too.
I actually am here till like 2 on Monday.
Okay, so we'll have...
So I might not actually be on the bus on Monday. So maybe I'll come in the studio on Monday.
That'll be great, and then we can take you to the airport.
I'm not going to roll in.
One last one. We found this photo of you. I think it might be like your first promotional photo for Strikeforce.
Okay.
And if we could put, this is the one like the studio shot. I just want to ask you, as we're getting so deep here.
Oh yeah.
Who's this guy?
Look at him.
Look at this guy.
Young little dude, big neck.
Look at that hair too.
I don't know. See, I've always had the receding hairline, just so everybody knows. All right, it's just the way my hair is shaped. It's just got a little bit.
No, no. I think you look very similar. It's just a little bit longer. You still got the blessed tattoo. How old were you when you got that, by the way?
Shh, the blessed tattoo?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know.
Pre-college?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it was in college. Shoot, I forgot.
Who's that kid though? Would he have imagined all of this? Would he have?
No. I mean, I told people. I told Tyron. I told Ben. I told the MMA media, the ones that weren't calling back then. But if I ever got the opportunity, but I didn't really truly believe it. I don't think. But I had a hard work ethic, and I had some dreams to accomplish. I needed the belief to work its way up. But here we are. Freaking 15 years later, man. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like I said, I'm not supposed to be here. And that makes it even more special. It makes it even more beautiful. And Saturday night's gonna be fun, man.
Man, what a pleasure. Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate you. You're the man. It's always such a pleasure, honestly. And I don't take these visits for granted. You could be doing a million things in New York today. So thank you so much. It really does mean a lot. Michael Chandler, thanks for watching this video. Hey, before you go, do me a favor, hit that sub button. Give us a thumbs up, hit the little bell thingy as well. Leave us a nice comment or two. We appreciate you all very much.